Hello MotoGP fans, welcome back to ZNGP today. Neil Hodgson recently sat down with TNT Sports to dissect the riding styles of MotoGP's greatest, and he didn't hold back. From Casey Stoner's unparalleled confidence on the Ducati to Marc Márquez's front-end wizardry and relentless adaptability, Hodgson offered a masterclass in what separates the very best from the rest of the grid. As Pecco Bagnaia battles to unlock the full potential of the GP25, his technical director Cristian Gabarrini has been pivotal behind the scenes. With over 2 decades in MotoGP, Gabarrini has worked alongside champions like Casey Stoner, Jorge Lorenzo, and Marc Márquez. In an exclusive chat on Bagnaia's YouTube channel, he detailed how he collaborates with Pecco, why they're focusing on specific weaknesses, and how Bagnaia's approach mirrors Lorenzo's more than Stoner's instinctive style. Amid ongoing uncertainty over his future with Aprilia, reigning world champion Jorge Martin has provided the paddock with a clearer timeline for his MotoGP return. Speaking at Aprilia's All-Stars event in Misano, Martin confirmed he'll be back on a prototype before the summer break, despite the stalled contract battle over his 2026 status. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Hodgson began by recalling the first time he witnessed Casey Stoner transform Ducati's fortunes in 2007. Riding a bike that had been struggling for years, Stoner not only found pace but utterly dominated his teammates, something Hodgson likened to Marquez's later ascendancy at Honda. There were a lot of things Stoner did that I'd never experienced before. He was just incredible, a pure animal on a motorcycle. When he won his first world championship on the Ducati in 2007, Ducati hadn't had any success, they'd been really struggling, and he got on a bike and made a difference. He destroyed his teammates a bit like Marquez did, but obviously, we're talking about riding styles. Stoner looked very confident with the rear-end slide. Hodgson's statement. Hodgson emphasized that, beyond raw speed, Stoner wielded psychological pressure, knowing his team could rarely match his results. This comparison set the stage for his analysis of Marquez. Turning to Marc Márquez, Hodgson highlighted what he saw as the most unique aspect of Marc's arsenal: his ability to slide both the front and rear ends of the bike with absolute control, something not even the legendary Kenny Roberts mastered. He's capable of sliding the front end. When you think of Kenny Roberts and you think of him sliding the rear end, no one has been able to control a front slide and a rear slide. But it's not just that he has it all, he's the perfect package. One of the most lauded traits Hodgson observed is Marquez's lightning-fast learning curve when conditions are tough. Whether the asphalt goes from greasy to grippy or temperatures swing wildly, Marc is typically able to find a second per lap advantage over everyone else on Friday. There's no one who adapts to track conditions faster. We go to a track on a Friday and it's very dirty and everyone is struggling, there's no grip. Marc is a second faster than everyone. Hodgson didn't shy away from Marc's tumultuous slog with Honda before his move to Ducati. Despite piloting a borderline uncompetitive RC213V, Marc's statistics still outperformed many factory stalwarts, prompting Cal Crutchlow to famously predict a destructive Ducati debut for number 93. He had years on the Honda where it wasn't the best bike, but he made the difference, being beaten in championships when he wasn't on the best bike. I'll never forget Cal Crutchlow telling me this when I was riding with him. When he saw his stats, he said, "Let me tell you something, if you give Marc Márquez a factory Ducati, he's going to absolutely destroy everyone." And look where we are right now. Indeed, real-world results have vindicated Crutchlow's prophecy. Marc's switch to the Desmosedi has produced an almost unstoppable force in 2025. While Hodgson drew clear parallels between Stoner and Marquez, dominating teammates, riding on wildcard confidence, he stressed that Marc's blend of front-end slides, mental acumen, and adaptability form a unique package. There were a lot of things Stoner did that I never tried. Marc has taken that confidence and added elements that even Casey didn't have, particularly his front-end control. Stoner and Marc both destroyed rivals, but Marc's toolkit is something else. From Stoner's renaissance at Ducati to Marquez's current reign, Hodgson's insights remind us that greatness in MotoGP is as much about mental ruthlessness as mechanical skill. Whether it's a rear-end slide like Stoner or that almost supernatural front-end drift of Marquez, their legacies serve as benchmarks for every rider chasing motorcycle racing's ultimate prize. Gabarrini began by framing Bagnaia's rocky start as par for the course. In MotoGP, he explained, "Complications are part of our job, especially when early season updates haven't settled." He stressed that rather than panic, they're methodically addressing one weak point at a time, backed by data showing marked improvement. What we're doing with Pecco is trying to work on his, let's say, weak point to try to improve that aspect a little. Pecco is working very well, he's achieving it. The data from the last race really showed that he's made a big step forward in that regard, Gabarrini said. At Qatar, Bagnaia vocalized his satisfaction on Saturday, putting Gabarrini in a high-stakes position, change the bike setup, or ride suboptimally into Sunday. Gabarrini outlined their process, listening closely to Bagnaia's clear, concise feedback, then gambling on setup tweaks between warm-up and race. While the team's instinct is usually to maintain continuity, there's a tendency to not touch anything. He emphasized that progress only comes from calculated risks. The decision to make a change of this type comes from the rider's dissatisfaction with how the bike is performing. Otherwise, you always try to leave the bike as it is. Pecco has always allowed maximum freedom. If you don't take risks, you never get anything. Drawing on his experience with multiple champions, Gabarrini dissected Bagnaia's riding DNA. Contrary to Casey Stoner's instinctive, high-sliding Ducati mastery, Bagnaia aligns more closely with Lorenzo's precise, methodical style. That distinction shapes how they approach data, bike setup, and race-craft. Pecco is the opposite of Stoner, and very similar to Jorge Lorenzo. His riding style, his approach to speed, his approach to work. Pecco's riding style, for me, is a bit of an evolution of Jorge's. His way of working is very similar to Jorge's and completely different from Casey's, who was much more instinctive. Beyond technical tweaks, Gabarrini highlighted the human side of their partnership. He believes absolute transparency and sincerity form the bedrock of a strong rider-engineer bond. Bagnaia's intelligence, clear communication, and emotional composure mean Gabarrini can trust that he'll deliver accurate feedback without friction. I've always sought maximum transparency and sincerity with the rider, never hiding anything, never telling a lie. And it's always worked. Working with Pecco is easy. He's a very intelligent guy and almost never gets angry. That makes your life easier. From setup gambles in Qatar to a riding style that echoes Jorge Lorenzo more than Casey Stoner, Bagnaia's partnership with Cristian Gabarrini is built on mutual trust and precision. As they continue to refine the GP25, Gabarini's insights underscore why Bagnaia remains one of MotoGP's most promising talents, ready to evolve race by race. Since crashing out of the Qatar Grand Prix, Martin has been locked in a performance-related exit clause dispute with Aprilia. While both parties have publicly reiterated their positions, Martin insisting he reserved the right to decide his 2026 future, Aprilia questioning the clause's validity. Either side has budged. He reiterated his willingness to extend the clause window once he's fully fit. "We have, each, said what we have to say. The situation will resolve itself somehow. I have always been open to dialogue with Aprilia to extend this period to a certain number of Grands Prix after my return to competition. The aim is that both parties can give each other a second chance and feel comfortable before making a decision for 2026, Martin said. Martin's first two-wheeled outing since Qatar came at Misano's All-Stars Festival, though not on an RSGP. Instead, he rode Aprilia's RS660 and RSV4 production machines, reminding fans that he's eager to return to racing as soon as he's physically ready. It's a complicated moment, but little by little I see the light. Despite the circus surrounding his contract, Martin approached the Misano demo calmly, focusing on regaining feel and enjoying the paddock atmosphere. Under new MotoGP regulations, Martin can now slot in a private RSGP test before officially rejoining the grid. He confirmed plans to do so before the summer, a target that places the session sometime between early June and the July break. Before the summer, I will do a test. However, I will return to racing only when I am 100%. With the summer hiatus starting after Brno on July 20th, Martin's window for a private outing is narrowing, but he's determined to make the most of it. Martin stressed that his priority is full fitness, not rushing back at less than 100%. He's undergoing intensive rehabilitation after suffering broken ribs and a punctured lung in Qatar, injuries that kept him out of his first Aprilia GP since joining from Ducati. Behind the scenes, his trainers have been tailoring strength and mobility work to rebuild core stability, ensuring he steps onto the RSGP only when he can push to the limit without hesitation. While Martin sorts out health and contractual issues, his teammate Marco Bezzecchi delivered Aprilia's first win of 2025 at Silverstone, proof that the RSGP remains potent. That triumph adds pressure to Martin's return, as Aprilia's bosses will expect him to match Bezzecchi's pace once he's back. As Jorge Martin sets his sights on a pre-summer private test, the paddock watches closely. His physical recovery, combined with the looming contract cliffhanger, means every step he takes this June will shape Aprilia's 2026 lineup, and potentially the entire MotoGP rider market. Thanks for watching ZNGP today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!